Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Thursday, March 16th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin with AEW Dynamite broadcast live on TNT from the Canada Life Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The show closed with a teased reunion of the Elite as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks appeared to back up Hangman Adam Page in a confrontation with Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club.
Hangman Page watching the Blackpool Combat Club.
Oh, they're surrounding him.
Oh, they're gonna beat up on Hangman again. The Elite, but Hangman's stuck in the middle.
Look at the eyes of Omega. Oh, they backed away, Excalibur.
And Hangman Page confused. What a moment!
The confrontation angle took place after a locker room brawl involving Page and the Dark Order against the BCC, which spilled out into the ringside area during the main event. The match saw the Elite and the Jericho Appreciation Society fall short in challenging World Trios champs the House of Black. The battle between Page and the BCC began earlier in the show when the BCC defeated Page, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order in a six-man tag. The win came when Moxley made Grayson tap out. The opening of the show featured what was advertised as the re-bar mitzvah of AEW World Champion MJF. The celebration was interrupted by the other three so-called pillars of AEW, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jack Perry, all of whom demanded a shot at MJF's world title. The segment ended with all four men brawling and MJF landing on a bar mitzvah cake at ringside.
Thank you. Screw you. Bye.
It was a long time coming. Jack with Sammy Guevara, and now Darby Allin and Sammy going at it. Well, neither four of these men like each other. I can tell you that right now. Oh my God, that's horrible! Poor Max! Oh my God, it's this rebar mitzvah stuck in the cake. That hat, that beautiful fluffy hat, Burberry Jones. Oh,
Did you say beautiful fluffy hat?
In other results, Orange Cassidy retained the newly renamed AEW International Championship against Jeff Jarrett, and Taya Valkyrie made her debut appearance in AEW, confronting TBS champion Jade Cargill and Layla Gray immediately after Cargill's quick win against independent wrestler Nicole Matthews. In WWE Hall of Fame news, the recently retired Keiji Muto, best known in North America as the Great Muta, will be going into the Hall of Fame this year, according to an announcement made yesterday on WWE's The Bump by Muta's one-time rival Ric Flair, who will also be inducting him at the ceremony on March 31st in Los Angeles. The former four-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion, former three-time Triple Crown Champion, and former NWA World Heavyweight Champion recently wrapped up his nearly 40-year career in Pro Wrestling Noah with a months-long retirement tour that culminated with matches against Tetsuya Naito and Masahiro Chono at the Tokyo Dome on February 21st. One of the most successful Japanese stars to ever cross over into American pro wrestling, Muta debuted in the United States in 1986 for Championship Wrestling from Florida and had an extensive career in Jim Crockett Promotions in WCW, but never wrestled for WWE. He is scheduled to join the previously announced Rey Mysterio and Stacy Keibler as part of this year's Hall of Fame class. In ratings news, last Tuesday's episode of NXT drew 590,000 viewers to the USA Network, down 5.5% from last week's audience of 624,000, according to Showbuzz Daily. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.15, down from the previous week's 0.17 rating, according to WrestleNomics. That rating equates to 196,000 viewers. Turning to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling's Will Ospreay has been pulled from the company's annual New Japan Cup due to a right shoulder injury and has been replaced in the tournament by fellow United Empire stablemate Mark Davis. Ospreay injured the shoulder against Davis during his second-round tournament victory on Monday and was scheduled to face Evil on Friday to begin the quarterfinal round. The New Japan Cup continued on Wednesday at Okayama's Zip Arena with the final 2 second-round matches taking place. In the first, the newest member of the Bullet Club faction, David Finlay, defeated the United Empire's Great Okan with the Trash Panda in 13 minutes and 7 seconds. The second bout served as the show's main event and saw Shota Umino upset New Japan World Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr., finishing him with the Death Rider DDT in 26-12. The New Japan Cup quarterfinals begin on Friday with Mark Davis now set to take on Evil and Sonata facing Tetsuya Naito. In more All Elite Wrestling news, AEW yesterday announced the 6-date tour of Canada to take place this summer, with live televised and non-televised events being presented in Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. The tour is scheduled to begin with the second annual installment of the AEW and New Japan co-promoted Forbidden Door pay-per-view, set to take place June 25th in Toronto's Scotiabank Arena. This will be followed by Dynamite and Rampage tapings on June 28th at the First Ontario Centre in Hamilton, Ontario. Next would be the July 5th Dynamite and Rampage tapings at Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta. AEW is then scheduled to head into Saskatchewan for a live July 12th Dynamite at the SaskTel Centre in Saskatoon and a live July 14th Rampage at the Brand Centre in Regina. The final date of the tour would be a house show on July 15th from the Saddle Dome in Calgary as part of the Calgary Stampede event, which regularly showcased Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling years ago. And we close with some unfortunate news. Jeff Gaylord passed away yesterday after a short illness, according to an announcement on social media from his brother Joel. Breaking into the business in 1985 in San Antonio and spending some time in wrestling in the final days of World Class and Bill Watts' UWF, the former nose tackle and 4th-round draft pick for the LA Rams was perhaps best known for his time in Memphis's USWA in the early 1990s. Gaylord was a 2-time holder of the USWA Tag Team title with Jeff Jarrett, as well as a 1-time holder with Mike Anthony. As part of the USWA's talent exchange program with the WWF, Gaylord also got the opportunity to work several WWF cards, most notably the 1993 Survivor Series, where he was a part of Shawn Michaels' team Under the Masks as the Black Knight, alongside Greg Valentine as the Blue Knight and Barry Horowitz as the Red Knight. Gaylord left the business in the mid-1990s and struggled in later years with a string of bank robberies in the 2000s that led to a 6.5-year jail sentence. Jeff Gaylord was 64 years old. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.